I love painting. I love painting more than I love paintings. Paintings are the end result of painting. To a painter, at least this particular painter, the finished painting is just an artifact left over from the magical journey of the process of painting. But to go on that journey, you need to have a destination in mind. And in that spirit, I start my journey at the very end by picking a frame. Framing is the most important aspect of painting that painters never talk about. It's always an afterthought. Don't let frames be an afterthought. Make it intentional. Make it part of the art. Make your own frames if you can. If you can't, go find interesting frames. Look at thrift stores, antique stores, garage sales. Get nice frames on Etsy if you can afford them. Frames from big box hobby stores can work, but be careful. They can look stock. They can give afterthought vibes. This is my stockpile. Frames complete paintings. Frames invite people in and then ask them to stay a while. But there's a more practical reason why I start here: to decide what size painting to make. This is my stockpile of canvases and panels. These are the options. All things being equal, I'd prefer the wood. But all things aren't equal. The wood sticks out the back of the frame. So I'm going with canvas. I like to prepare the surface before I paint on it. Knock down that store-bought canvas texture look and create a surface that's unique to my hand. This takes some time, so while the layers dry, I'm going to figure out what to paint. I used to go straight in, throw some paint around, find the idea in the mess, and pull it out. Order out of chaos, that sort of thing. When this approach works, it's one of the most magical feelings in the world. But most of the time it doesn't work, and it can feel like you're lost at sea. By the end, you have some half-baked kernel of a good idea, doubting your choice to be a painter in the first place, and feeling the cosmic weight of the absence of creativity in your life like a dark void engulfing your soul. At the same time, painting intuitively is core to my process and the type of art that I aim to make. So what am I to do? Max Ernst said that seeing usually means you open your eyes and you look out at the world. You can see another way too, by closing your eyes and looking within at your inner world. To Ernst, the best way to see is with one eye closed, focused on the inner world, and one eye open, fixed on reality. The result, in his words, is a synthesis of subjective and objective life. The place where I do that inner world, order out of chaos type stuff now is in sketchbooks. I am attracted to this one. This little drawing was a total subconscious creation, just like how I used to paint. Random shapes, start defining them and pulling out what I see from them. Before, that would be it. Now, I use it as a jumping off point to bring it into the real world. But first, another layer of gesso. For me, the best way I've found to do this whole one eye open, one eye closed thing is by sculpting maquettes. The thing about a sculpture is that no matter what, it has dimension and depth. With a drawing or painting, you are always creating the illusion of dimension or depth. That's what the fundamentals of drawing and painting is. With sculpture, it is what it is. And for my purposes, that's all I need. I first started building these little models for painting reference a few years ago. My friend Chet would always encourage me to use more reference, make it easier on myself. I resisted this for a long time, longer than I should have. For some reason, I had this false idea that it had to come from my head, or somehow I wasn't a real artist. That sounds dramatic and lame, but I could see my favorite artists doing it. Someone like Chet, and I'd think, why can't I? Well, Chet worked in the makeup effects industry for 20 plus years, sculpting things to look very realistic for movies and TV, surrounded by references and models. So when he paints from imagination, he is working from an unusually deep knowledge of anatomy and form. Also, he still uses reference. One night, I had a dream that me and Chet were going to a fancy hotel for a banquet. In the parking garage under the hotel, I dropped him off by the elevator and went to park the car. He was dressed in a suit and looking sharp. I was wearing some old pajamas and a dirty undershirt. I saw Chet talking to a group of beautiful women. As I approached, I noticed they were speaking some language that was incomprehensible to me. When I reached them, they all stopped speaking, and the women disappeared. I asked Chet what they were saying, and he said, "You have to know their language to understand." To me, the women in the dream were the muses, and the language that they were speaking was sculpture. To me, the dream meant learn the language, sculpt. I'm still not very good at sculpture, but I'm good enough for my purposes, and getting better. The last preparation layer I add to the canvas is a combination of modeling paste and gesso. I've never figured out how to get it perfectly smooth. That was the goal initially. But I've found that I actually like creating my own unique texture with it. I put some finishing touches on the sculpture and sanded down some of the excess texture from the panel. Now, it's time to paint. I've painted a lot of different ways. I'm a very scattered person, disorganized. I need structure. This method provides that. The place where I learned the most about this method is from this book. If you paint in acrylic like me, you'll just need to find acrylic substitutes for all the oil-specific stuff, but the principles stand. The demonstrations are good. The underpainting is the drawing stage. It's all about figuring out the composition and forms. At this stage, I'm using one simple color. I'm also using some open acrylic thinner medium to achieve some subtractive painting techniques for the highlights. The shadows will have the most amount of paint, and as I build up the transparent layers, this will give them a glowing, translucent effect. I think of this stage as creating the blood of the painting, the life force. Stage 2 is where this method gets its name. Grisaille just means gray. And this is the stage where I do most of the heavy lifting by focusing my attention on the values and getting them right. Here, I create essentially a finished black and white painting. To me, I think about it as adding light and gradually rounding it into those warm shadows that I created in the underpainting. If the underpainting stage was creating the blood, this is creating the skeleton and the muscles. The color stage is like the skin on top of everything. And that's more than a metaphor because I apply the color in thin, transparent layers using a glazing medium, which creates a kind of literal skin over the underpainting. I'm limiting my palette to alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, and cadmium yellow. I like the way this color palette harmonizes, and each color is very strong and versatile. There's no real method to choosing colors. It's more of a feeling thing. You can always make the colors more chromatic or saturated, or less chromatic and saturated. That's actually mostly what is going on at this stage. I'm just adding color and then blending in some light to shape out the forms, add some shadow, and then add some more color over that. One thing that I do here that is a little different is having a variety of very light opaque paints. Titanium white, which is very strong and opaque. Zinc white, which is a little less in your face about it, more transparent. I also use Naples yellow, Titan Mars pale, which is like a light pink, and Titan Mars green pale. I'm also still using the light neutral gray paint from the Grisaille stage. The purpose of all these different lights is to change the temperature of the highlights I'm adding. Finally, it's about just sitting there and just looking at it and kind of asking it what it needs, and then giving it that. And in this way, I'm still using my intuition for my paintings, but it's more of a patient intuition. When I think I've given it everything I can, I put on the finishers. Isolation coat, varnish. Now we're back to where we started, but I have a painting. Have fun. Good night. So this month in the choir, that's the Patreon, I'm posting a bunch of behind the scenes videos. Also, every video that I upload to YouTube, you get to see early. If I make a video of a painting, it ends up on Patreon. You also get stickers and prints for sustaining membership. I really try to make it worth your while to join the Patreon. If I get enough people on Patreon, I'm gonna start just like sending out paintings every month. I don't know exactly what number. I'm kind of recording this on the fly, but there's a number where at the end of the month have like a raffle. Random name gets a free painting. If I get enough small dollar donations, I'm just gonna start giving away my artwork. I also have a huge back catalog on Patreon, drawing and painting lessons. I think I'm up to like 700 posts or something on Patreon. There's long form videos about different artists and creativity. It's really like a treasure trove, I think. Like if I was a fan of my art, I would definitely be excited to join the Patreon. And that's really my goal, is to like, if I was a fan of this, what would I want? And I just really strive to do that over there. So I hope to see you in the Patreon. Have fun. Good night.